is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X270. As you might guess, it's the follow-up from the X250, the X260. We've reviewed every generation so far. Intel's 7th generation Kaby Lake inside. As ever, it gets to be, well, by ThinkPad standards, more thin and more silent as ever. And what is it? It's a 12.5-inch Windows 10 Ultrabook Intel Kaby Lake CPUs inside. Bridge battery system. One of my favorite things about these is this battery here is removable. There's a front cell permanently installed. Well, you have to disassemble it to get to it. But this here, you can get a 3-cell or 2 different 6-cell batteries depending on how much you want it to last. So we're going to look at it now. So the Lenovo ThinkPad X270 is the smallest kid on the block here among the ThinkPad X series products and T series products. So here we have the X270. This is the T470S, which is the slim and lighter version of the T470 at the bottom. So you can see the difference in the size here in the footprint. So Lenovo's got a size for you no matter what, whatever you want. And they all share the same iconic ThinkPad matte black kind of finish look overall. Though I would say the X270 is actually more like a very dark gray and not as black as usual. It's 2.9 pounds, which is 1.3 kilograms, so it's quite light. What sets it apart from the myriad 12.5-inch and even 13.3-inch Ultrabooks on the market is the number of ports that you get here. We've got USB-C here. Okay, it's Gen 1, and it's nothing too fancy, but it's nice to have it. 2 USB 3.0 ports. We have an SD card slot. We have Ethernet. We have HDMI. We have an optional LTE-A modem, Qualcomm X7, a Sierra Wireless module. For those of you who need LTE 4G WAN on the go, that's a $140 option. There's even an optional smart card reader. So usually small laptops like this, not so much on ports. This has anything that you'd expect from a larger business laptop or even a big consumer laptop. Good times. But the most special thing here really, I think, is the bridge battery system, which has gone from something like the T470S, alas, but it's still alive in the X270, like the X260 before it. So there's an internal 23 watt-hour battery inside here, and if you unscrew the bottom cover, you can get to it, but obviously you're not going to take that in and out every day. And you can choose which battery you want to have in the back. This is the removable section right here. There's 2 releases, and then you pull out the battery. This is the 3-cell, which is also 23 watt-hour. It fits in here. It's a flush design. So with this, you have about, your normal Ultrabook sort of run times, about 6.5 hours or so with moderate use. But here's the 72 watt-hour 6-cell battery. So obviously this is going to make it stand up a little bit, which is going to give you a good typing angle, but it's going to add a little bit to the weight. And then there's a tweener, a 47 watt-hour battery. If you want the 47 watt-hour battery, it's a $5 upcharge. If you want this big battery, it's a $25 upcharge. So you're not paying a lot extra for that. Now Lenovo always has crazy claims for how much you can get with this big battery here. They say like 21 hours. Okay. Maybe with the screen almost off, doing absolutely nothing, but still, with this battery, we managed to get over 14 hours of runtime, which is phenomenal. So there are not many laptops that can do that. There aren't many Ultrabooks, very few that have removable batteries at all. So versatility says you really need to use this on the go in the field. You could even get a couple of different batteries carrying with you. My God, you're ready for an Arctic expedition for a week, right? And this is what it looks like with the big battery installed. Notice we also have a docking connector here. Traditional stuff going on, right? And ventilation. Now this is a dual-core 15-watt CPU inside, Ultrabook CPU. So it's not going to get that hot anyway, but obviously plenty of ventilation available on board here. It's available with Core i5 and Core i7 CPUs. You can get vPro CPUs if you want. No Core i3 option right now on that. So then Intel HD 620 graphics. This is not the kind of thing where you're going to find dedicated graphics, and generally anything with this small footprint, you're just not really going to get that. So available with your choice of 4, 8, or 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and the base model, this starts at list price $979, dollars. But Lenovo list prices are kind of just a suggestion on their site right now. It's selling for around $783, the base model. That would get you the Core i5-7200U. It would get you 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs SATA interface M2 SSD. So the more expensive configurations have a PCIe SSD, which is what we have in here. We have a kind of high-end configuration We have the Core i7 in here, 7600U. We have 16 gigs of RAM, and we have a 512 gig PCIe SSD, and we have the full HD display, and that one goes for about $1,500. More middle of the road, Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig PCIe with a full HD display is gonna set you back around $1,379. So as Lenovo pricing goes, that's not so bad. Now, there is also an HD, not full HD panel, that's 768p, 1366 by 768. Oh, it's a TN panel. I'm sure it's a horror to look at. You know, it's one of those holdover business, terrible looking screens for companies who just want to get something inexpensive for their employees. We have that full HD panel. It's decent looking. You know, the metrics on it aren't that impressive when it comes to color gamut, but to look at it, the contrast on it and the pop is pretty nice. I wouldn't have guessed that the color gamut's a little bit lacking. For a business laptop, though, it's pretty much par for the course there. Actually, in terms of a few metrics, it does pretty well. For example, the camera is pretty close to spot on. The white point is very good. 305 nits of brightness, so it's pretty darn bright. But you can see the Adobe RGB is 52%. Usually we see like 75 in a consumer laptop in this price range. And sRGB is 68%. So yeah, but like I said, looking at it, it's very nice looking. So hey. So open it up and you have Lenovo's usual wonderful ThinkPad keyboard. Nice travel, nice tactile feel here. It's just a pleasure to type on this. If you write a lot and if you type a lot, you're going to love this keyboard. And that sets it apart from a lot of other tiny Ultrabooks on the market. And of course, we have the usual trackpad with nav pointer over here as well, and discrete buttons for the track pointer. And as you can see here on screen, it's now a Windows Precision touchpad. Now, this is made by Synaptics, and there are a couple of customizations in the spirit of the old ThinkPad functionality. Not too much going on here, though. Light touch, heavy touch, duration of waiting for gestures, and edge tap filtering. So that's about it here. So compared to older ThinkPads that didn't have a precision trackpad, you don't have quite as many settings. But that said, it's a very good trackpad. It tracks reliably. Two-finger gestures work, all that sort of thing. Keyboard is backlit, typical ThinkPad. You hit FN and spacebar to activate it. Key travel, nice and deep. Oh, so good. And the fingerprint scanner is right here on the keyboard deck. The machine benchmarks well, and you know, predictably for its class with a Intel 7th generation dual-core CPU. It feels fluid, it feels responsive. Benchmarks attest to the fact that it's fast enough. You have dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11 AC, that's an Intel 8265 AC module inside. A 720p webcam, that's, you know, business webcam's not the best. In terms of heat and noise, this thing is not going to get hot. The only time I heard the fan is when plugged into AC power and working moderately hard. Then you'll hear it as a whoosh. It's not a whine, it's not a grating sound, it's just the kind of white noise whoosh of air. It's maybe a little louder than I expected, actually, for an Ultrabook this size, but again, it's only when it's plugged in and it's working moderately hard or very hard. When it's not plugged into AC, it's generally pretty darn silent. Right now, I can't hear the fans at all. And yeah. To open up the X270, you simply unscrew the visible captive Phillips head screws that are here around the edge. Captive means that they stay in place. They don't screw and come all the way out, so you don't lose them. And inside here, this is the permanently installed front battery that I spoke of. Now, this is an interesting thing right here. Now, I propped it up there because I've taken it apart partially, but this looks like your usual 2.5-inch laptop size drive bay, be it SSD or be it a hard drive. So what they've done here is, I've unscrewed two more screws so you can see that. There's your M2 SSD, PCIe again, and they have a little daughter card to get the mount here. So if you wanted to switch over to 2.5-inch SSD or HDD for some reason, you'd need a different daughter card with the right connector to do that. So I wouldn't plan on doing that. So far in the US, there aren't any configurations that actually have that. Is the part available through Lenovo's parts department? It might be. Over here we have a single RAM slot, again refreshing on something this small and unusual, and let's pop that out and see. And that is a 16 gig Samsung module, so there's no RAM soldered on board, it's all right here in the slot. So that makes upgrading pretty easy, up to 16 gigs. That's obviously the cap. That's the highest capacity SODIMM that you can get for a laptop currently. And again, DDR4, 2133 megahertz. There's our Wi-Fi card, and this is the space where the WAN card, the LTE Sierra wireless module, would go if you went with that option right there. So that's the internals. So that's the Lenovo ThinkPad X270. If you're looking for a traditional laptop that is not one that's a convertible, not one with a pen, not one with a touchscreen, just a no-nonsense 12.5-inch portable that really is incredibly portable, the usual durable build, excellent keyboard, it's hard not to like this, honestly, as long as you're cool with that ThinkPad look. I am. I like that raven black look, you know? So many ports on board, and yeah, the displays aren't up there with some consumer offerings in terms of color gamut, but it's actually really a pretty nice looking display on the full HD option, too. Good job, Lenovo. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this video.